Hey, man, my people been watching the fight. That's a good fight. The object of the fight is to win. Shakur, you won that fight. But don't nobody want to see that, bro. I'm rooting for you. I want you to have all the success in the world. Don't nobody want to watch that, bro. I ain't gonna lie. Yeah, you can't be hit. I ain't gonna lie. You one of the coldest motherfuckers with dodging punches. I give you that. Motherfucker cannot hit you at all. That's a fucking skill that is hard to perfect. But nobody want to watch that. You won. We wanted you to win. I was rooting for you. But I wouldn't watch that again. That damn show ain't finna pay-per-view that, boy.
Yeah, we gotta have a little bit more output than that.
Something, come on, bro. We can't do that.
Just a little
all right?
bit, dog.
We fuck with you, but we ain't paying for that next go-round.
At all.
We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Boxingego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Dang. Shakur Stevenson, his stock has dropped after the Edwin De Los Santos performance. Lackluster in nature. Many call it boring. That's what I want to talk about. Did Shakur Stevenson, did his stock in fact drop with this performance? I say yes. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. The best in the business. It's not even close. It's been that way, baby. Now, the topic of conversation is Shakur Stevenson, and I'll jump right into it. You guys seen the clip at the beginning. The first clip I showed you was live mid-rounds of Shakur's fight with Edwin De Los Santos, and you see gaping holes, which we'll get to in a second, but outside of the holes in sections, meaning it didn't like completely sell out or whatever, you seen people who were getting up in the middle of the fight and they were leaving. They were leaving as the fight was going on. That's tough. And this is the reason. A lot of trust me, I've covered so many fights. I've been to so many fights, legendary fights, you know, that I've covered, like Mayweather, McGregor, Crawford becoming undisputed, you know, just a ton of fights. Canelo, Golovkin won. I've covered all these fights, right? So I've been at the best. I've been in Crawford fights in Omaha where he definitely sells out. I've been at Errol Spence, Sean Porter, Wilder Fury 1, all these great fights, legendary fights, right? With great cards and some of them, etc. And I've seen crowds all around. I get to meet the people, you know, because I'm in the venue. So I remember being at Golovkin. Hey, no, guys, hey, Max. I met some people from Kazakhstan at the Golovkin-Jacobs fight in New York. So I've been in the game for a minute. And one thing I know about fans is fans are fanatical, but fans are also very passionate. And most people aren't going to pay lower box seats and like, you know, just basically pay their hard-earned money for a ticket and then up and leave in the middle of the fight for the main event. You know, it takes something that they're really not liking at that given moment for it to be all that. Because, I mean, just you think of it. Let's say you spent $200 on tickets and $200 and you took your girl, that's $400. So you're going to, in round 5 or 6, just get up and leave when you pay for it? Like, I don't know. I don't know a lot of people that do that. They were also booing every single round. And I know some people are going to say, oh, you're hating on Shakur Stevenson. I wasn't in the crowd, so that doesn't apply to me. I didn't boo him. I wasn't in the crowd. I was not in Vegas. It has nothing to do with me. See, what happens is I've been in the game for years. It made me an animal. There's rules to this. I wrote me a manual. And the usual suspects come in and try to deflect from the subject. I'm here to talk what's happening and what's reality. And the reality is it looks like Shakur Stevenson's stock has dropped from this. Second clip, Steven Jackson. You have him. He said, man, I'm rooting for you, but that ain't it. You know, you won the fight, but that's not what people want to see. Now, Steven Jackson, you could say, oh, he's not a boxer. He's not. But he is a pro athlete at the highest of levels. So he's been in enemy territory where he had to play games and, you know, play against angry crowds and, you know, people when you're on the foul line, people booing you and stuff like that. So he's a high level athlete, put it that way. And here's the thing. I seen Steven Jackson. You can ask him. I seen him at the Atlanta Gervonta Davis fight with Gamboa. And after that fight, because it didn't end in a late knockout, if I'm remembering correctly, Shaquille O'Neal was there. I seen Mutombo, Steven Jackson, Matt Barnes. Everybody was in a great mood in Atlanta. The women were fine. And I might even try to find some of that footage and put it up on the screen for you as I'm talking. But the point I'm making is Gervonta Davis is such a stud and such a star, that people are leaving his fights fulfilled. Like I've been to several Gervonta fights. I was at the Gamboa fight in Atlanta. I was at his fight in Baltimore with Ricardo Nunes. I mean, needless to say, that's a hometown fight. They went crazy. And they showed up early in Baltimore because there's a lot of Baltimore and locals that were fighting on the card. And it was just satisfying. And I feel like the fans had a level of satiety. It's like you go to a great restaurant and you thoroughly enjoy the food. You're not overly full, but you're not hungry anymore. It's just you have that satiety. You just feel perfect, you know? Food was great. You paid the bill and you're off to the movies or whatever you and your date are about to do next. But with the Shakur Stevenson fight, I don't know that was really the case. And I can't say from the feedback that it is. So to me, it looks like his stock has definitely fallen. And I blame Shakur, as ironic as it sounds, because Shakur is outspoken. So when you talk that talk, then you got to walk the walk. I mean, you're coming out with Terrence Crawford, Andre Ward, Floyd's in your dressing room. Just that in and of itself, that's big shoes to fill and big expectations because you're being backed by iconic black legends of boxing. You know what I mean? I call it the Black Avengers. You know, the combined record is 140, or entering the fight was 142-0 of those gentlemen, Shakur and Crawford, Ward and Floyd, right? I did the math. So that in and of itself is big shoes to fill. But beyond that, because, you know, that's just cameos or whatnot. But even Shakur's part, he's like, I'm going to F you up. Edwin De Los Santos, I'm going to F you up. I'm going to destroy you. All that for the performance we seen. And, you know, Shakur, he's saying, oh, I'm not affected by it. But he keeps going on Twitter and almost explaining it, doing a bunch of posts and deletes. And to me, I think that all that stuff is kind of making it worse. The posts and deletes. Oh, I'm the one-hand bandit. And then his team and Bob Arum and different people coming out of the wood shop with all these excuses. Oh, his hand was messed up, his shoulder, he went to see. I mean, this happens. It seems to keep happening in high-profile fights that are on Top Rank. Let's just be real. Lomachenko when he lost to Teofimo, shoulder. Pacquiao when he lost to Floyd Mayweather, shoulder. Teofimo when he lost to Kambosos, esophagus. Keyshawn Davis had a bad performance, subpar, was getting roasted. They said he had acid reflux. Shakur, now they're saying this is his hand, his shoulder. I don't know. My neck, my back, my neck and my back. I mean, it just seems to be always something and this grandiose like reason. Whatever happened to just boxers with bad performances? Like you train hard, but on that given night you couldn't put it all together, or the guy was better than you expected. He had more power than you thought. He was trickier or more dimensional than you thought. So you just had a bad night. And I think fans would respect that a bit more. But another reason why I believe Shakur stock has dropped is because now you guys see Devin Haney, he put out a tweet and he said after Shakur's fight with Edwin De Los Santos and he was getting booed and all the stuff I showed you, I should have offered this bum 10%. I was being too generous. And he left other tweets. So he wasn't impressed by it either. So now you have people in his comment section who are agreeing because as it sits, the word is that Team Haney offered Shakur 25%. Shakur thought it was a spit in the face. And then you put up a lackluster performance. Now it gives your ops, Devin Haney, leg to stand on. And that's the thing with this young generation. They're going to find out one way or another. When you do all the talking online and the Twitter fingers and outspoken interviews and I'm the best, and do really kind of some of the stuff that Shakur has said. Like Shakur said he would beat Canelo. He literally said if him and Canelo were naturally the same size, he'll whoop Canelo. He's also said, I rate myself highly. I'm the best in boxing, right? He says, right now, I think I'm the best pound for pound fighter in boxing, aside from Crawford, maybe, right? So you're putting the bullseye on your back by doing that. He also said that he wanted to surpass Floyd Mayweather. You guys can look up everything that I'm saying. So Shakur Stevenson set the bar really high and set the bullseye on his back. In addition, you already have that because you've been a noted name in the sport of boxing since you were pretty much a kid, since you were 14, 15 and headed to the Olympics. Everyone knew you were going to the Olympics. So for that reason, in and of itself, you've also had a bullseye on your back where people are going to check and have high expectations because you're an Olympian. But beyond that, you got to listen to some of the statements he's made. I'm going to F Edwin De Los Santos up. I want to surpass Floyd. I'm the best fighter in boxing. 25% from Devin is a spit in the face. Now, this is, again, these young fighters will learn this. Listen to your old heads. When you do the Twitter fingers and, a lot of reactionary stuff online, guess what? When you have a performance like that, it's going to embolden your haters and it's going to embolden your ops and then the people, anyone you said something bad about. That's how it always goes. Like, let's say when you create enemies, so to speak, like ops enemies, when you have a bad performance, they're going to be right there laughing at you. It always happens without fail in boxing. Like, for example, Rolly, he has his outspoken ways. He's talked about this person, that person. So when Tank Davis knocked Rolly out, he had hell to pay. And there was a lot of people with a lot of comments and laughing and memes and things like that. Now, Shakur didn't get knocked out, nor did he lose, but a lot of people, including Steven Jackson and a ton of others, are underwhelmed by your performance, and the expectation was just higher. I mean, I had a ton of comments in my videos, and they're like, yo, I like Shakur, or I'm from Newark, or I'm from Jersey, but that just wasn't it. The fight was boring, and I was disappointed in the performance. So it'll be interesting to see how Shakur Stevenson embraces this and or refutes it. I mean, he's already apologized for the performance and kind of admitted that it was lackluster. Me personally, I don't want to hear a bunch of excuses, the shoulder and the hand. I mean, if you and your team are confident to go into the ring in that condition, then you got to live with the results. That's what I truly believe. If it's so severe, I don't want to hear about Teofimo's esophagus exploded and stuff. The doctors and your team and your dad, for Teofimo, your dad allowed you to fight like that, then you knew the risk. So if you lose your belts or you lose on that given night or have a bad night, then you knew what you were getting into. It's like people who drink and drive. You're drinking, making a choice to drink and not call an Uber or Lyft. So when you get a DUI because they have a checkpoint, then you got to live with that because that's what you chose to do. So for whatever reason, Shakur's grandfather and the commission, everybody let him fight. So we can only go off of what we've seen. If you weren't able to fight, if you were somehow handicapped or disabled, then that is what it is. The only exception to that is if you entered the fight healthy and you picked up an injury in the fight, which does happen. I remember Wilder from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, oh my God, to this day, when Wilder fought Chris Arreola, he had torn ligaments, a messed up arm and bicep, or torn bicep and fractured hand, and that needed surgery. But he got that in because he punched so hard. So he got that in the fight. Or more recently, Gervonta Davis versus Pitbull Cruz. He got his hand messed up, injured. And speaking of, people were saying they want to see Shakur versus Tank off of that performance. I don't think it's that big of a fight because of the style matchup. You know what I mean? There's other bigger fights. Like even, I know people are going to disagree with this. Even Eastside Pitbull Cruz is bigger because he has the country of Mexico, which is a different demographic, supporting him, and he's an all-action guy, and some people thought he made the first fight close. So even that fight, to me, at this moment, would outsell a Shakur Stevenson fight because a Shakur Stevenson fight would be more for boxing purists. But to get the big numbers, million plus, a lot of times it's not just boxing purists that are watching. You're transcending the sport of boxing and luring in casuals and like surface area fans and a lot more than just the immediate diehard boxing fans, you know, the people that are going to watch Diego Pacheco card that just happened and stuff like that, right? Completely different. But needless to say, when Tank fought with one hand against a dangerous guy, Isaac Pitbull Cruz, he fought valiantly, and he fought in a manner that, from a boxing purist and like an assessment perspective, you can't really fault Tank. He was still fighting. He was still throwing the injured hand. You know what I mean? Shakur Stevenson, he just looked overly cautious and timid, and this was supposed to be the best name on paper. So that's another reason why it kind of looks bad, because the first name, at least to me, that I thought was true, I literally said this, I thought it was like the most dangerous person, all things considered. Edwin De Los Santos was on a tear. He had good momentum. He has knockout power. He showed he could box in the Adorno fight. I literally said all this. He showed he can hurt you, El Rayo fight, and good size to him, young. You know, he has all these things going for him, only one loss. And that's how the fight actually played out. So I do think Shakur's stock was hurt in this fracas. We'll see how he bounces back. We unpack.